Hey guys, and welcome to video number 2 of going from grayscale to color. If you haven't watched the first video, I recommend watching it because it explains how we get to this point here with the use of gradient maps. In today's video, we'll be covering how to draw hair, or the method I use to draw hair, because there are a lot of different methods to do it. Not saying one's right or one's wrong, they're just different methods. So today I'll be going over how I do it. Here it's this hair at the top. It's just more so a sketch and a guide for me to use. The typical method you want to do, or most people want to do, is you begin by making a solid base color, which is my method, but typically it's Goku here is going to be Super Saiyan, so on default you want to make the whole hair yellow. Is you go from here and we'll just pick a yellow color, and this is how a lot of people want to start. Then from here many people want to just start adding highlights and shadows. I admit that's how I started off doing it, and then once I learned a little tip, it makes drawing hair a whole lot easier, but it does take a little getting used to. So let's just change this so we still want to see the guide of the sketch. So we'll just lower this opacity down so we just see where the hair lines are at. Alright, so you select it and let's make a new layer. And rather than start with the yellow of the main color of the hair, we go to a darker tone. Like this. Then back here, by selecting command, you select it. Let's make a new layer. And there you go. You're probably thinking, why? By starting off with the darker color, you actually have to draw less or paint less hairs. So it's a little trick by doing this, so then where the shadows of the hair are, you don't have to paint for the most part. You're just painting the midtones and the highlights and only a little bit of the darker shadows, and you'll see right now. So let's just make a new layer. You can keep it on the same layer, but I'm just making a new one just so you guys can see. And under the hairbrush set that's in the download link, click hair 1. So now, what color do we use to color it in? Remember that first hair color that we picked? That's the one we're going to be coloring in. So let's remove this one. See, it's there from when we selected it. Let's pick it real quick. Go back. And now what we're going to do is begin to color in the middle parts and the highlights. And the one thing to remember is when doing hair is you follow the direction of the hair. So it's coming out and it comes to this point. And you have to keep in mind where the light source is coming from. And our light source in this particular drawing, it's coming from the bottom and the sides. So here we begin to color in the hair. And we're using the little sketch, adjusting the sizes every so often to make them a little bit bigger, a little smaller. We're just building the hair little by little. Once again, like I said, following the hair strands, the direction of the hair. And you see here, I don't have to go all the way to this part to connect it because shadows will be existing there. Once again, the light source is on the side, so this will be lighter. And we just repeat the process for every block of hair that Goku has. Because typically when you see Dragon Ball art, there's people most keep the line art in it, which is one style. The way I draw Dragon Ball, you notice I don't actually have line art in it. So because of it, you have to use color, highlights, shadows to create the separation in color, to create the depth of it. And you'll see where the line art would have been here, it's actually the highlights of the hair. And the reason why I don't use gradient maps when doing hair is because at first I tried to, but then I realized it's a lot harder to do it because hair goes in so many different ways, color affects it, there's a lot of variables to it. So it's just a lot easier, quicker to just color in hair with color rather than gradient maps. Turn off the actual hair guide, we don't need it anymore. We're down here, create a new layer, or you can sketch and draw it in the same one, completely up to you. Also remember, when doing hair, it's never in a complete block, so that's why you notice I'm not masking or forcing it to stay within that color block of the hair, because hair in reality goes in a whole lot of different directions. And I'm constantly, when I'm doing this, adjusting the size of the hair, because you never want, when you're doing hair, for everything to be identical when it comes to the strands. Let's pick that, and then let's make it a little bit darker. If you want, you can create a new layer if you're afraid, or continue on the same one. It's entirely up to you. Then this is where it's darker. You can lower the opacity here on top, the flow slightly if you wish. You have to add the shadows of the hair. So because of the base layer was a darker tone, like it's essentially a shadow, is now you could see the hair is beginning to appear, and what's going to make it pop at the end is once we start adding the highlight. And once you add highlights, it's always on another layer on top. So new layer, let's go grab hair number 2, let's change it to not completely white, make it say 11 yellow. Now this is where all the highlights come in. This is what's going to bring the hair essentially to life. Keeping a reminder on the light source, lower the opacity so you can kind of just blend it in a little bit. Let's get a light yellow. Kind of just refine the edges, because what you want seen ultimately is not the base color, but the highlights at the end. You just kind of continue this. All this purpose here is to correct the edges. These eyebrows. Once again, you can just do the magic wand. Create a new layer. And because for the most part they're all the same, and just make the block. For this one you don't have to do the shadows because small change in the hair color. We just got to get a super light yellow, and all we're doing just adding a little bit. But now that I look at the skin again, not really liking how it looks overall, So that's one of the benefits of gradient maps, is the fact that if you don't like it, you can change it. Let's open this up again and let's just start going through this. And like I said, it's one of those things where it's a good thing is you can just go back. All right, I'm more happy with how his skin tone looks here. So that brings us an end to our video tutorial number 2, coloring the hair, and a bonus, fixing the skin tone. Now on to the last video on how I do all the colors and effects. Basically how I bring Goku essentially to life.